Hi, this is Dan with QT Equipment, and I'm standing in front of this beautiful red Peterbilt. I'd love to do a walk around of this truck and show you everything that's on this truck, but we're waiting on a couple of toolboxes to come in from American Eagle. Before we do that, we're going to do a video focusing on this Vanair i300. It's got a lot of capabilities. We're going to dig into the specs, and then once these toolboxes come in, we'll shoot another video and you can see everything that's on this truck. All right, so let's get our machine going. Imagine we pull up to the job site. We set our parking brake. We can turn our key off because with the Vanair i300, you're going to be able to run your crane, your stabilizers. You've got a 40 CFM compressor. You've got a 300 amp welder. You've got a 7,000 kilowatt generator. You've got a battery charger and a battery booster, all running off that Kubota diesel engine. It pulls diesel fuel out of your tank to run the engine back there. You can do all of this and not have to run your large, expensive truck engine. Last thing we need to do is body power and multi-switch on. We'll grab a remote. We're ready to go. You've got two ways to turn this machine on. You can turn it on at the panel. You just turn the key. Or you can turn it on with the remote. We're going to let this machine warm up for a few minutes. You want to let your machine run for at least 3 to 5 minutes to just fully come up to temperature. You don't want to short cycle these machines. You don't want to short cycle the engine, and you also don't want to short cycle the compressor. We're going to hang out for a few minutes. We'll come back and we'll look at the stop and then restart function of this machine. All right, coffee break's over. We're back. Our machine is fully warmed up. We're going to turn on our remote. We're going to wake this baby up. Back to our aux1, aux2 screen, and if we toggle down where it says stop, machine stops. You'll notice on this board here, all the lights go out, but one thing that we found when testing is that, there we go. See, we get two lights that pop up, a low engine oil pressure and an alt fail light. And really all we have to do for this is toggle down on stop, and then it wakes the board back up again and we can start. That took us a few minutes to figure out, but it's pretty easy to start and stop your machine from the remote. If we have a need for air compressor, we can do that in two ways as well. We can do that from the panel, press the compressor switch, or the furthest toggle to your left on your IMT remote, we flip that up. Compressor will start. As we fire the compressor up, the PSI will go up to 150 PSI. The machine has a max PSI of 175, which you can adjust on the machine. We've let this at 150 because that's where most people are working. If we bleed this down just a little bit, that's at 130. It'll just stay there. If your air pressure drops below 120, it's going to kick up. And you'll see that since we bled it down under 120, it's going to bring it all the way up to 150. A word on compressors. This is a rotary screw compressor. And if you've watched our other videos on rotary screw compressors, you'll know that one of the worst things you can do for them is not run them hard enough. And this is no different. We call it short cycling, and they've got a great description of it in the manual about how you want to make sure that you get your compressor up to temperature. This compressor, the same as a IMT rotary screw compressor, needs to be run hard. Don't turn it on for 3 minutes and then keep it shut off the rest of the day. Bring it up to temperature, get all that moisture out, and it will be a happy, longer living compressor. Placement of the machine, the top of the side pack is the most common place we install these. There's probably a lot of different ways you could do it, but this is the best way that we've found to do it. The hydraulic tank goes in the front here. It's important to remember that this hydraulic tank needs to be at the same level or higher than your machine to keep the pump flooded. Unlike some other machines, there's no venting on the front or the back of this machine. All the venting is on this side and the other side. And one of the most important things to remember when you're installing this machine is that you get proper airflow. You wouldn't want to install this machine right next to a wall on the back side because it's drawing air in from this exhaust side and exiting on the other side. And if you choke that off, you're going to have a problem. Next consideration that we always think about, no matter what machine we are installing, is serviceability. When you hit that 500-hour mark and you need to do the service, you don't want to have to uninstall things, climb a ladder, especially if the machine's in breakdown mode. You don't want to have to spend 4 hours to get to be able to service something. Plenty of serviceability on this side. It's nice that it's in the load space. You've got the 2 latches, you can get to everything here, and then 2 latches, and this goes up. I would probably need a step ladder. Maybe somebody that's a little bit taller could get in there, but the main point of it is that you can easily get to everything you need to get to for troubleshooting and regular maintenance. Speaking of service, anytime you get parts for this machine, you'll want to make sure that you have your model and your serial number. There's a sticker you can see it from the outside, but it's easier to see if the lid's flipped open. There's a serial number and model number right here. Make sure you have that for our parts team to make sure you get your correct parts the first time. Nice safety feature from Vanair here, even though you can start and stop the machine from the remote. They've got these safety switches on both of these panels so that if the panels are open, this machine will not start. We can't make it start. And then close it up. Step back a little bit and we can start the machine. If you've made it this far in the video, you are a professional. You've heard this stuff a million times, but it doesn't hurt to hear it one more time. Safety's no accident. Read your manual. You've got decals all over the place. The 2 most important things I can point out are this machine gets hot. Make sure that if you are running this machine and then getting inside of it, you don't burn yourself. And then remember, this is an air compressor. It compresses air. If you work on compressed air, it could be painful. Make sure that you relieve all that pressure before you work on it. As far as maintenance goes, I love it when manufacturers do this. Every manufacturer should do this. They've got a nice section in the manual covering all the maintenance that you need to do, but not everybody has time to flip through the manual, right? So you've got all your reminders for compressor maintenance and even the part numbers here laid out for you so that you can easily do your maintenance. Call our parts department, use your serial number. You've got the part numbers right there. Easy peasy. Here's a nice little feature from Vanair. This is the hydraulic tank, and on the hydraulic tank, they give you a thermometer. I wish every piece of equipment that we sold that had a hydraulic tank incorporated with it came with a thermometer. We all know the problems that heat can create inside of a hydraulic system, and it's nice to be able to not just, well, that feels hot. No, you can look and see what temperature it is. You've got Fahrenheit and Celsius for our Canadian friends and friends around the world, but for us here in the United States, each one of these dash marks is going to be 5 degrees. So we've been running this compressor for a little bit this morning. You barely can see it, but there is a thin black line, and we are just above 70 degrees. This is really nice, and I wanted to point that out. Thank you, Vanair. Good idea. We appreciate it. One of the considerations that, unless you've worked around this equipment a lot, you may not think about is just sound. Some of these machines can be very loud and very annoying to work around. You know, this is a rotary screw compressor. You're supposed to run it a lot, and now you got to listen to this thing whine for hours and hours and hours. You just don't want to do that. I got us a little decibel meter. I wanted to see how loud this was compared to a traditional rotary screw compressor with a pump and PTO setup. We will start this machine, and I'll stop talking and see how loud it is. Just did a base idle. low 70s, and we'll turn the air compressor on. High 70s. All right, let's talk about the big question. Should you buy one? We had a customer in from Florida a couple of months ago coming through the shop, speccing out their equipment. They had already kind of decided they wanted one of these Vanair i300 machines, but they weren't sure if they should go with an end pack, if they should go with a traditional pump and PTO setup, and they wanted my opinion on it for whatever that's worth. And I think you need to break that question up into a couple of different sections. First thing is, would I recommend the Vanair versus other non-end pack multifunction machines? There's a handful of them out there, and this is far superior to the other non-end pack multifunction machine. I would definitely do the Vanair machine for that. Should you purchase this instead of a traditional pump and PTO setup? That really depends on whether you're going to weld, whether you're going to need the generator, whether you're going to need the battery booster. This machine does a lot. It's an expensive machine. It gives you a lot of capabilities, but if you don't need those and you're going to layer on another 5 figures of cost, and now you have to buy 10, 12, 15 trucks, that can get very expensive very fast. That's a thing where you're going to need to talk to your team and really decide whether you need those capabilities or not. Then the big question, should you buy an Vanair or should you buy an end pack? And forgive me, I'm not trying to be political on this one. If you've watched our other videos, you know I don't have a problem throwing our vendors under the bus. I'm here to do the best job for the customers. The customers are the people that we advocate for. We don't advocate for our vendors. End pack versus Vanair. They're very equivalent machines. The end pack is a little bit more expensive. The end pack has a little bit more functionality. The end pack has a bigger compressor. I believe it's got a higher duty welder. It's also a more complicated machine. There's more touch panels and it's harder to install. The Vanair system is a little bit more straightforward. It's a little heavier. It's a little cheaper. It's hard to weigh the scales on that. I think that's one of the things you're going to have to look at your organization and see what your needs are in the field and make a call. I cannot, unfortunately, point to one or the other. I love both my children equally in this case. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned a lot about the Vanair i300 machine today. There are quite a few options when it comes to compressors and welders. Not everything is the right fit for everybody. Our sales team is well versed in all of them and can help you make a good decision for your fleet. You can check out some of the other videos here on end packs and compressors. They're somewhere in this area. I don't know where they are. They're going to figure that out in post, as they say. You can also subscribe. That makes us happy. One of my favorite things to do is to take my friends' kids and set them aside and show them I have more YouTube subscribers than you. So hit that subscribe button just so that I can look cool in front of the kids. Work dirty, be happy. Until next time.